Live from Shore Manor Studios, this is Tales from a Small Town Journalist with Matt Schorr.
Hi, guys. Thanks for checking out this episode of Tales from a Small Town Journalist, the podcast dedicated to all the weird and wonderful stories that you are only going to hear about from reporters working in small communities just like yours. I'm Matt Schorr, and I was one of those small town reporters for almost 10 years before I finally hung up my notepad and my camera. And in that time, I had some, unique and sometimes weird experiences working with the public. And I got to know a lot of other reporters who also had unique and sometimes weird experiences working with the public. Before I go any further, I need to make some announcements. It feels like it's been forever since I've had the chance to make announcements. Maybe this is a good sign, like we're actually coming out of this pandemic and there are things to announce once again. So fantastic announcement that I have right now is some major updates that I made to my website, www.mattschorr.net. There is a new newsletter link if you want to sign up there and stay up to date and all the things going on and be the first to find out about any sort of updates, news, or promos, discounts, or even some giveaways that we might be offering to people. So definitely go check that out, sign up, and be on the front end of all of that good stuff. Speaking of that sort of thing, along those lines, I made some major updates to the store section of the site. It's no longer a simple bookstore. It's so much more than that now. So just go up to the top of my website, mattschorr.net, click on shop, and now you'll find three new options. Big one, of course, is the bookstore. Made some major changes there. It's completely redone and completely revamped. So it's got a whole new look, whole new offerings, and I think it looks so much better. It's much more streamlined, and it just looks fantastic. And everything is available there. Every book, every comic that I've written, you can go in there and purchase one of those. And to commemorate this occasion, we're making a special offer right now. The latest comic that I've published, Moby Dick, Back from the Deep, issue number 4 in my horror comic series. You can go over there and get that particular issue for 25% off. So go check that out, won't you? It's pretty cool looking, and I'm really proud of how it's turned out. Speaking of that sort of thing, one of the things that we've never offered before, or had the ability, I should say, to offer, was a digital bookstore. But that's no longer the case. Now there is a completely digital version of our bookstore where you can go and get all the books, every comic I've done in digital format. Just once again, go to mattschorr.net, click on shop, and you'll see the option there for ebooks. Click on that and it'll take you to the ebook store where every book is available. And to commemorate this, we're doing a complete store-wide offering on this one with the discount code journalist, which will get you 25% off until the month of August. Now, if you need that spelled, that's JOURNALIST. That'll get you 25% off of everything in the store. So if you haven't read any of my books and you're not sure you want to commit to a physical copy, this is a pretty good way to check things out, get just a digital one and see if it's your cup of tea, if you like it. So please go check that out. That'd be fantastic. Help us have a really cool kickoff this month. We'd love that. And speaking of kickoffs, we have one more on the horizon. This one's not just me. Now my wife is joining me. Amanda's a big part of this next one. In the month of August, we're going to be launching our own line of Shore Manor t-shirts. We've been working all summer coming up with our own cool designs and layouts for these things. And at last count, we have more than 30 different options to choose from. And it's all going to go live and be available to people in the month of August. But just for you guys, just for you, I'm going to offer you guys a cool early bird discount. Once again, using that promo code journalist. Use that code if you go to the shop. That'll get you free shipping on every single shirt that we have available thus far. Even though we're not technically live, you guys can go in there. We'll call this a soft opening. Go in there and check it out. If anything looks good and you think you want it, you got free shipping on it if you use that promo code. Once again, journalist, JOURNALIST. So go check that out. I hope you like what you see. Now, getting back to this episode, I will be chatting with an old friend of mine, Mike Clark, the former circulation manager for the Mayfield Messenger newspaper in Mayfield, Kentucky. Mike and I are old friends, and it definitely comes out in our conversation. We deviate to a lot of topics. We end up talking about comic books. We talk about movies. We talk a little bit about current events, but we always do get back to the topic at hand, and that is journalism, most specifically community journalism, and just how important it is for a community to have local journalism and local reporters, keeping them informed about what's going on, keeping local officials accountable, how vital that is to the community. It's a really good conversation. It was a lot of fun, and it was very great catching up with Mike after it feels like it's been a long time. I suppose it has. He's one of the few people that so far job I held the longest to date. That could change very soon. But regardless, getting away from all that, I'll stop rambling and we'll shift gears and I'll connect with Mike now and get that conversation going. Okay, I'm joined today by Mike Clark, former circulation manager for the Mayfield Messenger, the place that is still to this day where I worked the longest. They kept me around longer than anybody else so far. So Mike and I are pretty familiar with each other. Mike has since retired, but that just means that he is a well of amazing tales from a side of the industry that I have not had a chance to talk about. I've interviewed a lot of people like myself who were journalists reporting the news, but the fact is, without the circulation team and the people getting the paper out there, what we did would not have mattered. So they were the foundation upon which we stood that people don't often think about. So this will be a slightly new perspective. But anyway, I've rambled on enough. Mike, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Doing great, Matt. Doing great. It's an honor to be on here, man.
Oh, don't build me up too much. Calling it an honor, man. It's just a podcast.
Oh no, you're now you went on to be a novelist, a comic book writer, so that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Glad to be.
It has its perks. It has its downsides as well. But yeah, thank you, appreciate it. But you've will real quick, you've moved on to a few other things too since you retired. You started a new business as well. Speaking of comic books, let's just go ahead and get that mentioned right here at the beginning.
Yeah, I did. I retired in January of this year and opened up a little comic book and toy shop here called Two Brothers. And Two Brothers toy, vintage toys and collectibles. I'll get it here in a minute. Someone cue me there. And we're doing very well with that. Joined a Facebook toy group called Primetime Toys and Collectibles. Been auctioning on there, and of course eBay. And I get, most people can't believe it, but I actually get some people in the store, which is kind of a strange thing maybe, but I do get some people out here in the country to come by and see us, and it's become a full-time job. But I know you're a big comic book guy, and
very big.
So and then of course comic book industry is definitely rolling right now.
So. Yeah, with of course their focus seems to be more on movies than comic books at the moment, but it's certainly it's booming for the big guys, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, the movies are driving the comic books up, the values of the comic books.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Now it is actually, I say that a little bit, probably a little too much condescension, because the fact is there is a little bit of residual effect there. So I'm pretty sure that like when I've gone to conventions and free comic book day events at like our local shop, the bigness, I guess, for lack of a better word, that you have with the movies, I think that's bringing a lot of people in who then in turn notice me and other indie creators who are there, and it's like, well, I'll take a look at this, why not? And it gives us a shot that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So yeah. I shouldn't turn my nose up too much at the big ones doing great, even if so much of it's not my cup of tea anymore. I think I just got old.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm old, and I don't get the new stuff. I don't even get the new Batman. I mean, it's just so dark and telling you something's dark in the writing industry. Wow. But I'm the vintage. I like the older stuff that much like we talked about at work, in our relationship or whatever. But the new stuff, I don't get it. And good thing I don't know that anyone actually, understands and appreciates the difference. Then maybe
I,
they're not old enough.
I understand, believe it or not, I do, because I think a lot of the comics that really resonated the most for me came out around in the 90s. So
Yes.
not a little, maybe a little past your era, but not far
Yeah.
past. They're kind of adjacent. But the 90s, and of course, I'm just a big Superman fan. That's the one that I love.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
but yeah, it was a lot. It was brighter. It was more hopeful, more optimistic, and you know, I I could get into a long soapbox description of the direction they've taken with Superman, but we'll save that for another conversation. But yeah, anyway, just to say, I totally get that. But the benefit of the fact with comics, maybe unlike so many others, is that even if they go a direction you don't like, they publish so many of these darn things that you've got thousands, maybe millions you can call back upon that you still haven't read that came out when you still liked them. So
Oh yeah.
still there's
Oh yeah.
always something new to discover. So
Yeah.
that's
It is. I mean, it's a whole universe, if you will, and you get lost and all that. And the toys is the same way. I mean, it's just that's my part, probably my favorite parts is finding something or seeing something that I remember as a kid, and it brings back that feeling. And of course, you're younger than I am, by several years, but you know what I'm talking about. Even at
Mhm.
your age or even younger than you. I mean, the group I'm in on Facebook. I mean, there's kids that were born in like 2000, and they're just young kids, but even now they remember that they're old enough to remember and bring back that memory. And that's cool. So
I I've reached the point that I remember a college professor that I had, one of my first years in college. He was a chemistry professor, and he said, I'm still getting used to the fact that so many of you weren't around when Kennedy got assassinated. And at the time, I don't know, it didn't really quite register with me, but now that there are kids who are of legal voting age and legal drinking age almost that were not around during 9/11, like
yeah,
they have no memory of this and have no idea why if I ever see a picture of the Twin Towers, it makes me feel bad. Like, what's
yeah,
wrong with you? It's just it's
yeah.
like,
You
well,
can't you
that
can't
was
read a Spider-Man comic book
yeah.
from
Now,
back in the day.
now I
But,
totally get what that professor was
yeah,
talking
my
about.
my youngest daughter was born the day after, if you remember that, born the day after 9/11. She was born on 9/12.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she has, she doesn't understand it or appreciate, which is probably a good thing for her, you
Yeah,
know.
it is. Yep.
Eh,
I hope nobody else has to experience that. And same with the Kennedy assassination. I hope that
oh, absolutely.
hope those are things we can avoid from now on. But yeah,
Well,
I
for
sympathize with my
me,
professor now.
yeah. Hey, for me and you in the newspaper industry, those were landmark. I mean, those were, the American Pie song, that you remember that. And and I still have goosebumps thinking about some of the things that we covered and that we put out for people to read. And it was tragic, and horrible. And we put out some good stuff too. But, um, you know, my daughter doesn't have the same appreciation. She understands what it was, and she's going to be 19 this year, but she doesn't fully grasp, I mean, where we were standing as adults and watching all this happen.
Mhm.
And that's, it's almost a protected against that raw feeling we all had.
Yeah. The these were there are three things I think that feel like they were the biggest things that happened while I was there with the messenger that I was part of covering. I didn't cover all of them to their entirety. Two were actually fairly upbeat. One was the nomination of, or not, excuse me, the actual election inauguration of President Barack Obama. Regardless of politics, it was the first Black man
Yeah.
to become president, and that was a pretty big deal, regardless of what you think. And so I just remember the whole day during that inauguration, we were all talking about what to include, and we had this conversation where they had provided the complete transcript of his speech before he had even given it.
Oh, wow.
And we put it was we had like an article about the actual inauguration on the front, and we had a note like, hey, the actual speech is on the back. And that's just one thing about that I
Yeah.
remember so
Yeah.
much. The other one was, of course, Kevin Skinner. Everyone in Mayfield will
Oh my
remember
God.
that was an
Yeah.
ongoing thing.
It was, but it was huge for here.
It was a very
Remember?
big deal, regardless. We can laugh about it or whatever, but it was a big thing for him. It was big for Mayfield. Scored me an interview with Jerry Springer of all people. So
Well, it is Jerry.
yeah,
That's impressive.
talking to him
Very
was a trip.
impressive. Let me kill this phone. It'll go nuts. Yeah, well, and of course, looking back now, I mean, the Kevin Skinner thing, I mean, it's, people laugh about it or joke about it now or whatever. It was a big deal.
And real quick, just in case anybody listening to this doesn't know what we're talking about, Kevin Skinner won America's Got Talent.
Yes. America's Got Talent.
Yeah, the show on NBC. Yes.
Yes. He was on there, and we, and the last couple of years I was there, I did an article every, good Lord, what was it? Every Sunday, where it was, back in time or whatever I would do, 100 years ago in the Mayfield Messenger and 50 years ago. And then when I got to that time period in those months, every week it was Kevin Skinner. Okay, I got to, and of course you have to hit on that, and I covered it in the history thing. But at some point we were like, was there nothing happening in this town besides Kevin? And ain't nothing against Kevin. Is an awesome singer. I think I don't know what happened. He didn't get. It's almost like we talked or like we've seen before. You have to be in the right place at the right time, but then you have to also make this right move and that right move, and one wrong, you open the door to the left and you walk out as the guy's coming in the right door that was the guy you needed to meet. And it takes nothing away. I mean, I know, you were there. It was big for Mayfield. It was big for him, his family, and Western Kentucky. I mean,
it was really kind of a Rocky Balboa type story for a little town like Mayfield. Some people we chuckle about it because he had such a thick accent, and his story. He was nicknamed the Chicken Catcher because that's what he did for a while. I mean, he had to make a living. He worked at the local poultry plant catching chickens. Somebody's got to do that job, and that was him.
Well, but I don't think he would have got named that if he hadn't have had the accent.
No, that helped.
He definitely had.
And the show, I'll say this for America's Got Talent, the producers, like they knew exactly how to play that stuff up, like send him out there. Because I rewatched that episode a few times where he like blew everybody away. They made a point of portraying it like nobody was taking him seriously. Like all the judges they show them these expressions like, who's this nobody?
Yeah.
Walks out there, just sits down on that stool and starts playing and sounds like Willie Nelson, and just captivates everybody with that one song, You're Always on My Mind.
Yeah.
And I mean, they knew what he could do well, and they said, you do that.
Yes. Well, and he was smart enough, he was smart enough to listen to him and say, of course, the one that was just killer was, and in my opinion, won it for him was The Blues Man, the cover of Hank Williams Jr. And that there was nobody and great people on there, but that is one performance. If your listeners don't know what we're talking about, check out, they can YouTube it. That version of that was amazing. And like I said, we don't get much to put Mayfield or Graves County on the map. That's good. we just don't. And he did. And that was awesome. I mean,
It is, you're right. It's worth checking out. If anybody, if you got a moment or two, go check it out. Even if country's not your thing, when you hear it, you'll be able to understand and appreciate why it captivated people in that moment. And
oh,
he had three or four more performances after that, but really that night he won because
yes.
I remember distinctly a performance he had, like, I guess the following week was not as good. And everybody wondered,
Right.
wow, is this going to hurt him? Is he going to lose? No, because he already won everybody over that first week and they weren't going to let him go.
Oh no.
So,
Yeah. Well, and of course the funny thing about this, if you remember, um, at the time, everybody was, just chicken catcher crazy. And
there were people
so
dancing on
the
the streets in chicken costumes.
they were hanging chickens from the courtyard. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say, I don't remember that.
But yeah, if you remember this, so we had the idea, let's put some newspapers on eBay and, not just sell them for $1 or whatever, which they were 50 cents at then. We'd sell them for $1 and just to help cover the cost and everything. And so that, to get mainly our newspaper out there. And it did help. We had a lot of calls from all over the world sending. But I don't know if you remember this. So put them on there or whatever, and publisher approved it, thought it was a great idea, get our name out there and all that. And then one of your fellow co-writers got on there or whatever. I forget how she did it, but basically said, you can call the paper and get these. You don't have to go to eBay.
I remember that.
I forget how she commented or something, and I'm like, it's us. We're doing it. But yeah, we were sending papers all over the world, England, Sweden, literally, which was interesting. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it was surreal because you're right. So many. I mean, for me, when I was there, a typical day was going to the courthouse, finding out what crimes had happened the night before, so we can get all that together. To see if there's anything worth following up on. Getting ready for city council meetings or fiscal court meetings, school board meetings, just usual stuff. Maybe there's a community event or whatever. And that was week to week. That's what we
Yeah.
did. And then this particular moment, all of a sudden, I'm getting phone calls from NBC Universal asking if I would like to interview Kevin Skinner, Jerry Springer, various other people on their program. It's like, sure, we'll be happy to. You're calling us?
Yeah, exactly.
It was an amazing time. It really was.
Yeah. Well, before that, do you think Hollywood knew where Mayfield, Kentucky was?
No, of course not. And why would they? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even say that with
Now
anger.
that's not true. That's not true. You got to remember that In Country was filmed.
Oh gosh, In Country. That's right. Yeah. The Oscar shoe-in that was In Country starring Bruce Willis. By the way, if you want to look that up on YouTube, don't bother. I don't think it's there. That's the impact that movie made.
Not here. Even now, we have people that own that and still watch it to point out. Now you see there, see he's running up Hausman Street, and then it zooms in, and when it zooms back out, he's on North 7th. That don't run that way.
I think this needs a little bit of context as well. In Country, this was I'm not going to say major Hollywood production. It wasn't meant to be a blockbuster, but it was produced by Hollywood filmmakers and starred Bruce Willis. This was during his peak as well, too. This is like fresh off of Die Hard, I think. So Bruce Willis, probably at the top of his game, came to Mayfield, Kentucky to shoot this movie about a Vietnam vet, and I guess it was his daughter. I apologize. I never saw it.
What?
It was supposed to be this.
I thought that was one of the requirements for when you.
I never could find the thing. I couldn't find it back in the day when, for those our age who remember video rental stores, they didn't carry it. Again, telling you what an
It was
impact this movie
it was
made.
behind the counter. You had to ask for it, much like the book.
They kept it with the porn.
book. Yeah. They kept, you got in country.
Yeah, that would
Let's
have
see
had to
your
be it.
ID. But well, you know, and the cool thing was Demi Moore, who was Bruce's wife at the time, actually had their daughter, whatever her name is, weird name, had her daughter at Paducah where they were staying. Of course, you know, yeah, they'll shoot the movie in Mayfield, but by God, they're not going to stay here.
Well, was there anywhere for them to stay at that time? Was the
They had the
Holiday Inn
budget
open?
in,
Was the budget? Yeah, there you go.
the
Yeah,
budget in, they
Budget
could
Inn, which
got
is
the weekly
Mayfield.
rates.
Yeah, isn't Budget Inn the equivalent of that hotel that Earl stayed in My Name is Earl? That'd be Mayfield's equivalent of that.
It's pretty much. But you know, but she did have their child here. What's the oldest kid's name? Come on.
I do not remember. I'm not a celebrity watcher. I'm not sure. I
You know,
apologize.
it's like Summer or something. It's something. Yeah, Willis, Summer Willis or whatever. Anyway, she had her kid in Paducah. Look her up. Yeah, it's like Gene Roof, the baseball player from the 70s and 80s. You don't know who I'm talking about, but you get his ball card back then and flip it over and it says hometown's Paducah, Kentucky.
Okay.
But we're not talking about Paducah. We're talking about
Mayfield. No, get away from that.
We don't have anybody from Mayfield like that.
That's the football rival. Don't talk about Paducah.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, anyway, that was a big, two big deals, I guess, for Mayfield. But yeah, it's we laugh about it because we have to. It is unfortunate in country. I think it was supposed to be this big Oscar shoe-in, like this great artistic film, and I think nobody watched it and everyone forgot about it. Yeah, only a few people in Mayfield have these bootleg VHS copies like you're talking about that they review. It's the only way you can find the thing.
My neighbor at the time had a neighbor lived across from us, and he came home one day grinning ear to ear. And he'd been to a yard sale or a rummage sale. I don't know what I call them yard sales. But he come home with this, and you got to be from, I guess, Midwest to South to appreciate it. But somehow they take a tire and cut triangles in it and flip the triangles up and make a flower pot out of it. The kids, not. And they, of course, they'll paint them white or whatever. So he had this flower pot made out of an old tire, car tire. He goes, guess where I got that? I said, I don't know. He said, uptown in the yard sale. I said, really? That's kind of neat. You know what's great about it? I said, what? And it's in the movie In Country. You see it in the movie. Took me in his house, put the VHS tape in, and ran it up to the scene where you can see in this yard is this tire. And he gave like $25 for this tire. I'm like, yeah, you got to be proud.
Money well spent, my man. That's an investment for the future.
I'm sure, Hollywood hawkers will come and call him one day. You should pick up that tire. We'd like to put it in the Hall of Fame.
Right next to Bruce Willis's star on the wall in Hollywood.
That he got for In Country, by the way.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yep. I remember my memory of In Country. I was pretty young at the time, but there was some scene where there was a storm or whatever, and I guess he climbed a tree or something, because like I said, I haven't had a chance to see the movie. I didn't watch it during those 5 minutes and it was a big deal. But they shot it near the football stadium. And I remember standing, like we actually went up hoping we'd catch a glimpse of Bruce Willis. My whole family did. And we stood there like on the side of, I forget which, I don't think it's 17th, it's 16th or 17th Street. Is it
No, 17th would be right.
17th. And we're standing there near that intersection watching. They've got all these storm equipment up there to recreate.
Pardon me, it would have been 15th Street.
15th. Okay. Okay.
15th would have been closer to where the house was that
okay, then that's
he lived.
Yeah. One of the teens. But yeah, I just remember all the equipment shooting on that tree and the water they had coming down to make it look like a storm.
That's cool.
didn't get to see Bruce Willis, unfortunately.
And what are you saying he had a double for the
I
tree scene?
I don't remember
I'm not
seeing.
climbing that tree, boys.
I'll be
Go
honest,
get Donnie.
I don't remember seeing anybody. I don't know, because sometimes it takes 2 hours to set up a shot. Maybe we just didn't get a chance to stay. I don't know. So
Right.
I can't say he had a double or he didn't, because I saw nobody. Or if I did, I don't remember them.
Now that movie was actually a few years before I came to the Messenger, but when we were moving, I come across a folder, and it's nothing but in country, and it's got the paper clippings and the articles and all that, and the pictures that the Messenger had done for, and that was, my gosh, that was a Kevin Skinner. It appeared to me that it made the front page every day. They're filming here, they're filming there, and in fact, some of your locals may not know, and I'm sure they do. You got John Davis here, but we have the Clothes Doctor, which I believe was originally the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Maybe
It
wrong.
was. I remember this. You're right.
And it
was.
became a laundry,
Uh-huh.
and it got its name, the Clothes Doctor, because that was the doctor's office in the movie.
Oh, very
They
nice.
used it as a doctor's office in the movie, and it's my understanding. That is my understanding. That's kind of cool. There's, the Clothes Doctor's still in business. The movie isn't, but they.
It's too bad. It might have lasted longer if they'd had eBay back then, and the Messenger could have hawked a bunch of copies overseas and done some extra.
What do you guys? Hey, you can get them at the paper for 50 cents.
Yeah. Yep.
But we didn't have a website, and we thought it was a good idea, try to get it out there. And we did actually get a lot of people contacting us and buying like 15 copies at a time.
I remember that. I remember printing. We're talking about Kevin Skinner again now. I remember we printed that special edition, like that City Hall wanted. I forget however many copies, printed copies for them. And my memories of printing that were we spent a lot of time putting together this full page image of Kevin Skinner with like text on the front and a black box. And I just remember taking it back to the crew back there. They were still photographing. They had to photograph each individual color and match them all up. CMYK. For people who don't know, that's cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Had to line all this up to put it in print. Remember, every time I brought back an image like that, the guy in charge, who was always smoking a cigarette, he'd take it out and just kind of, because he knew it was going to be really, he's going to have to really eyeball this thing exactly.
Well, and that's back then, I mean, we had the film developer, but that was advanced for us. We had the film developer, so it developed. But then when they started, you had the old camera that would actually, take the picture by manual almost. And then he had to take those negatives and line them up, make sure they were perfect. And you did that by laying one down and laying the other one on top of it. And he hated y'all for color pictures. When we went full color, he hated. We weren't going to buy new equipment. That was out of the question. So it was all eyeball, and it seems at the time that I think they shut that thing down maybe 2 or 3 times because the colors weren't lining up. And that was an incredible. There, you'll never find it. Maybe you will. Who knows? The front page of that baby was incredible, especially for the time and the equipment we had. And I can remember it because we actually had it printed onto a poster board, that front page, and it's still at the Messenger, by the way. The full color poster of the Kevin Skinner win, but it was amazing. It was beautiful, beautiful piece, and we sold a lot of them.
I remember what I started doing. I would go back there and talk to them beforehand and say, okay, look, I need a big image and I need it to be in color. What can I do to simplify this for you guys. And I found out a lot of different tricks and ways that I could arrange the page, because by then I was doing all the layouts. Like, okay, so I'm going to lay it out like this, guys. Here's where the text is going to be, and I'm going to do this with it to make that part simple. And yeah, so he still
It was
hated me, I think, but a little bit less for doing that.
I mean, we weren't set up to be running color, and the industry forced us to go that way, and you had to keep up with the times, and he understood it, but at the same time it was a lot more work, and
Yeah.
That's just no easy way to do it. And,
No.
but I do think that he thought, well, Matt's trying.
that
No,
went a
Matt
little
just
bit.
wanted it in color.
I wanted to get the best I could, but I was willing to find out, like, okay, what's going to help you here? Because I would tell them, look, it's going to be color. It's going to be big.
Yeah.
It's going to be color, and I need it to look good. But what can I do with you guys to make it simpler?
I see.
Yeah, that's usually how the conversation went.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, we had a great bunch of people. We just didn't have the equipment.
yeah, everybody made do with what you had to do. Yeah, make it as phenomenal as you could, given the tools you had to work with.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think we did a great job. I do. I was very proud of the work we put out for the most part. I mean,
Well, you're always going to have bad days here and there.
Oh yeah. Well, the days for me that were bad was, you mean to tell me there was nothing happened in Mayfield and Graves County? And yeah, that was stupid of me. Now, of course, nothing happened. We're Mayfield and Graves County, but you tend to forget those, those non-exciting days. And one of the another thing that we incorporated was we would kind of monitor what was being read once we got our website. And this is, my thing. Oh, you gotta, maybe off color, you may need to edit this out. But I mean, from circulation point, you got armed robbery, you got bad things happening, crime. Yeah, get it on the front page because we sell papers. And I hate to say that, but that's reality,
Oh, it's true.
Everybody, everybody, oh, we're tired of seeing the crime on the front page. Really, I can't
all you buy.
Mayfield.
Yeah.
That's all you buy, but you didn't want to see it. But
I used to tell people, put 3 or more mug shots on there and you'll sell out every copy.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And while people are screaming, they're grabbing it up and screaming, I'm sick and tired of this news on the front, but this crime on the front page. But anyway, so I was kind of monitoring and keeping up with what people read. And in 2019, I believe it was 2019, might have been 2020. 2020 was a blur. But we did a story out in Sedalia. The new writer, listen to me, I'm still there. Our new young writer, great kid, fantastic, James Turner. He's a great read. He's a fantastic, super nice guy. But he was going back from Sedalia, and he's not from here, so I don't know. I don't know how he found out. But anyway, found out there was a camel living in Sedalia. And he's like, hey, Mike, do you know there was a camel living in Sedalia? I had no idea. Sure enough, there was. So he did a story on this camel, got the picture, and went out and talked to him, met him, got the picture. And that was one of the biggest read stories of the year. And we had some big stories. I mean, we had a lot of crime. We had a lot of craziness going on. But the Clyde the camel story was one of the most read stories. And I'm like,
Clyde, he didn't name it Joe?
No, it was named Clyde. We didn't name it.
It was right there.
Already named when we got there.
It was right there, and the guy didn't name it Joe. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So Clyde the camel, he became one of the most read stories, and that kind of was cool. That
Should have
it's
put him across the top like we did with Kevin Skinner all those days.
Campbell. I don't think he made the top. If he had him, we would have sold out for sure.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, so you just never know. I don't know. I thought that was a cool thing that, Clyde the Camel, and your people are like, okay, that's it. I'm tuning out. I'm not reading the Messenger. And this is way too small town for me. Hey,
That's what small town journalism is, though. It's weird little
it,
things
it,
like that. Like,
painting the water tower at Wingo, or like you said, the school board meeting, and and even just jaywalking or whatever. Even it was just you gotta find something to fill the pages and try to hope that somebody's going to be interested in reading it. And I think they do a great job of it. But I do know, even when you were there, it's tough to do that. It's
sometimes you get a lot of slow news days in small towns. So
and of course, coming from circulation standpoint, I don't want to hear that. Get me something. Get me. I'd tell them, I'd go back there. I said, look, it's been a bad week. We've had nothing. One of you need to volunteer and go shoot 3 or 4 people so that we can sell a paper. And they'd be like,
gonna be?
Well, yeah, we gonna draw straws on that or what? I'm like, something's got to happen in this town. I mean, we've got to have something. And it was just nature of the beast. I mean, of course, you're saying that, and of course, I've got these people behind me saying sales are down. The newspaper sales, like single copies down. Yeah, I'm trying to get them to shoot somebody. But so but it evolved. I mean, that's the one thing I learned is we're all dependent on every department was dependent on the other one to produce something, and a lot of it was just fate. This happens or that happens, and it happens at this time, and we can get it. I mean, 9/11 at that time, and you were there, weren't you?
No, I was in college during 9/11.
Oh, youngster. Yeah. Well, the deal with 9/11 was, of course, our competition was Paducah, and they would go at 2:00 in the morning. So they ran their press. Sorry, they'd start delivery at 2. They would run their press at like 12 midnight. Our press time at that time was like 11, 12, 1:00. 1:00 in the afternoon, I guess, at that 2:00. So 9/11 happened, and we were the first ones on the block to get it out there to the readers of the Mayfield Messenger. Of course, we didn't have a website, but that was 2001, so I don't know if even they did. But so I was proud that we were able to get that story to readers, and so to speak, beat the competition to the punch on that, because like I said, they had already printed, they were done, and we were able to get that. We had a few times that we were able to beat everybody, and it's about sales and making money, but at the same time, I always looked at it, and that sounds corny, but I always looked at it, we're giving folks that read our paper, we have the opportunity to give them a different slant than what TV and what internet is doing. We're giving them the ability to read, and this is just the facts. This is it. This happened. This happened. This is just the facts. Because keep in mind, we're liable because it's in print. So the newspapers were more liable than anyone else. But we gave them the facts. We didn't tell them what to think and or what their opinion should be. We just put it out there. This is what happened. And I always was proud when we were able to do that. And we were able to beat everybody else. in giving that to our readers. And that, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Yep. And that may be a good spot to wrap things up, because we've covered a lot of ground here. The big things that happened in Mayfield, and the importance of local news. Yeah, both in the fun side of things and in the serious side.
Well, we didn't, we just, so much of it is just, at the moment. And I do miss you, miss working with you. I really do.
There's a lot that I miss about my time at the Messenger, because when I left, I became an editor, and I'm not knocking the position of being an editor or my time with the next paper at all. That was a good experience as well. But when I was at the Mayfield Messenger, I got out in the community. I went to City Hall. I went to the courthouse, and when stuff happened, I went out to it. I once chased a cow around downtown Mayfield. It was part of the job, but I was there for all this stuff happening. I was more keyed into the things going on than ever, but anywhere else in my life when I was with the Mayfield Messenger. And
Yes.
so, yeah, it was. And I really liked how, like, I didn't just sit in an office all day, because that's what I did as an editor. Because I mean, that's the job.
Sure.
That in an
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
office
Yeah.
and you edit. But
Yeah.
I got to get out there, go see what was happening, photograph it, talk to people, write about it. And yeah, I didn't realize how much I would miss it when I left. I suspected I would, but I did not foresee the level because I still
Yeah.
miss that. I can't afford to go back to it, but I do miss it.
Well, and that's, that was the end for me, is with the more in office. And then, of course, COVID, we were shut down to the public. But I know exactly what you mean, the ability to get out and talk to people of the community. And I said this, and I actually wrote an article a couple of years ago, and Eric Walker published it, but or Tom did. But and one of the things is, just because you're in a small town, it doesn't mean there's not amazing things and amazing people that make up that community. And exactly what you're talking about, when you're in that office, you miss out and you lose that connection and you lose that relationship. And yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, dude. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like the good, the bad. Like, I went with police on like drug roundups, and then I went to the community theater to cover their.
Yeah.
I would watch their plays ahead of time, and tell the public about that. Just everything about it. And some of it was dull. City council was hardly exciting, and school board was even less. But yeah, just to be there on one editor I had called it being on the front end of history. Journalists are all the first people there to tell people what happened.
And even the school board meetings, which I found boring, but at the same time, if you've got kids in that school, it matters.
It matters.
And I could see that. I could see why that was necessary, and I got it. And you were, obviously the TV station wasn't coming down here to cover the school board, so that information, you're tied with the kids and you're working the nights and you're working late and you can't get to it. They depended on you to tell them, here's what's happening at the school board.
Oh yeah. And the only people holding local politicians accountable are your local journalists.
Yes.
And most times, almost, that's newspapers.
Yes.
I'm not knocking other mediums, but like you said, the TV station covered a whole region. They're not going to cover every single school board meeting. The same goes for radio. They cover a region. They're not going to be there for every single
logistics.
one. Yeah, it's just simple logistics. I don't say this to like deride them, but yeah, the local newspaper, the town, that's their focus. That's where they're going to be. So yeah, I think every community needs some kind of a community paper in some way. I think they're vital.
Even if it's, even if it's just one day a week, and, of course the Messenger's down to 2 days a week, but even if it's just one day a week, and then we've got a lot of little towns around us that have that. it is imperative that the community support that paper and keep it going, because even if it's only once a week, every politician, every person in public figure knows that that's there, that those folks are there and they're watching, and they're going to tell that, you know, you're raising the taxes or you're condemning a home, or you know, if you know what I'm saying. And I think it definitely helps people. It helps keep people honest.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. If you lose that, then they have, you lose all incentive for them to be accountable. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's
there is nothing.
absolutely vital. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
So yeah, you were a big part of that for a good portion of your life. So you contributed something very important to Mayfield. May be small, but it definitely needed you. Because
I
like we
appreciate
were
that.
saying earlier, every office in the paper, they needed everybody in
Yeah.
order for it to function. Every part was vital. So
Well, and
yeah,
we had the fortune of getting a long string of great writers, and you by far rank up there against all the rest, Matt. I really enjoyed it, and we definitely felt a loss when you were gone, and I can say that because I went through a whole bunch of them,
I
and but we
appreciate that.
really enjoyed that, and you were definitely a part of the history of it. And even now, us talking newspaper talk or whatever. Remember Matt Schorr? He used to write for us. Oh yeah. And in fact, as I asked Matt today, she was down at my mom's visiting, and I said, "Well, Matt Schorr, uh, and did she? Oh, he used to write for the paper." And I'm like, "Yeah, he did." And of course, you know, I mean, you've moved on, but you still have those people here, and that's what makes newspaper customers special. She
Yep.
still remembered your name from you writing for us all those years ago.
It's nice to know somebody noticed. Yeah, I'll always be immensely proud of what I did there. Just
Oh,
being a part of, like we talked about, something. It's a humble little thing, and so many people don't think about it. But newspapers are so important and so vital to a community, and I got to be a part of that for a while. So
yes.
it's kind of lucky that I I've been able to have a string of jobs that I feel like were really meaningful. It wasn't just
Right.
something where I was just drawing a paycheck and didn't care.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's historical. I
Mhm.
mean, you're floating out there in the internet with stories by Matt Schorr from the Mayfield Messenger and other places.
And
And
yeah,
you know,
and prior to the website, I'm in archived editions there at the Mayfield office somewhere.
yeah, yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Our microfilm machine broke in the move, so it doesn't work. And we had several years that we lost because, well, if we're getting them on microfilm, which is literally 35 millimeter film, if we're getting them on microfilm, we don't need to have them bound. Why would we spend the money for that? We got them on microfilm. Now the microfilm machine don't work, so we've got a lot of them bound up, but we just lost them.
It's inevitable.
But I guarantee you look up Mayfield Messenger and you will find images on Google images. That'll be something that you wrote. I've done it. Trust me. I
Okay.
know.
I
I know.
believe you. Well, thank you very much again. As we wrap up, do you want to throw out any more plugs? Do you have any sort of social media or anything for your business you want to make sure people know about?
Yeah. Well, we're on Facebook, on just Mike Clark. You can look me up on Facebook. Sell on eBay under collectors underscore shop. No, that's not right. 2002. Something like that. You can find me on there. And then, as I said, we're on Primetime Toys and Collectibles on Facebook. We do live auctions there on Tuesday nights, and appreciate anybody coming out. And I've got comic books holding for you because you're supposed to be coming to see me. But pretty much around here all day. My wife says all day and all night, so I'm around here, and we're anyone can message me on Facebook, and I can tell them how to get here. And I
Okay.
appreciate the time. and the opportunity to talk to you.
Oh, hey, anytime. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining me.
All right. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you again, Mike. That was, gosh, it was great catching up on old times, seeing how things are going. There's a lot about my time at the Messenger that I miss. I can't go back just because, that was a previous chapter in my life. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe things will happen way down the road. You just never know, and we might cross paths again. But for now, uh, my time at the Mayfield Messenger it's in the rearview mirror, and I'm in the next chapter looking ahead. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't rewarding and wonderful and fantastic, because my time at the Messenger definitely set the trajectory for my life. I would not be where I'm at right now. There would be no podcast right now if I hadn't worked for the Mayfield Messenger and learned all that I did while I was there. So it was so great getting to remember the things that we did while we were there. And I do love being able to catch up with the folks there and see how things are going. So thank you, Mike. I'm glad things are going well. I'm glad retirement is treating you well and that you're having a good time with it. So moving on now to some upcoming announcements and of course the cheap plugs. Announcements. It's so cool having some events that I can announce. Again, crawling out of this pandemic, maybe finally at long last, we're going to get back to some level of normalcy. I don't want to go exactly back to normal the way things were before. Let's find a way to be a little bit better. Let's improve a bit, maybe wash our hands a bit more often, maybe try not to cough people as often as we do, and just to treat people maybe a little bit better, and to realize how special it is to see each other in person, But speaking of seeing each other in person, that brings me to the upcoming announcements that I have going on, and that's pretty cool right now. Free Comic Book Day. Normally that's in May, but they pushed it back to the month of August. And because of that, I am fully vaccinated. The people in my life are vaccinated. I'm going to be venturing out to Free Comic Book Day. I will be at Rick's Comic City in Clarksville, Tennessee on Saturday, August the 14th, the official 2021 Free Comic Book Day. I'll be there all day with copies of my books and my comics and the t-shirts that I mentioned. I'll have a few of those on sale as well. So stop by, check it out, say hello, see any of the other creators there, pick up a comic from me, other creators, and from Rick's. Show them some love. They are really supportive of area creators and writers and folks like myself. And it's a real boon to guys like me. So if you're in the area on Free Comic Book Day, show Rick's Comics some love. If you're not, and you just happen to be in Clarksville, show Rick's Comics some love, won't you? Another big one coming up, the Gourd Festival in Mayfield, Kentucky, hosted by the Ice House Gallery in downtown Mayfield. That's going to be October 2nd. And I'm going to be there along with my wife and my in-laws. So say a prayer for me, please. But we're going to be selling some of my books. We're going to be selling comics. We're going to be selling those t-shirts that I mentioned, not to mention a few Halloween inspired arts and crafts. So stop by our table over there, check it out, say hello, show some love to all the artists in Western and Mayfield, Kentucky. And speaking of those cheap plugs that I mentioned, this podcast is a part of Schorr Manor Studio, which you can find on Facebook and on YouTube. Please look us up there and like, follow, and subscribe. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Schorr Manor and on YouTube by going to tinyurl.com/Schorr Manor YouTube. All of this show's episodes are there in its entirety and now with video. So check that out. You can also sign up for our official newsletter at tinyurl.com/Schorr Manor newsletter, where you'll be the first to hear about announcements, discounts, and giveaways. So don't miss that. And you can look us up on our official website at www.mattschorr.net, where you'll find this and previous episodes archived. Just click on the podcast link at the top of the page. And finally, if you'd like to connect with me directly, you can find me on Twitter at @Matt and on Instagram at The Schorr. Or if you're old school, you can reach me at mattschorr@hotmail.com. So thank you again for checking out this episode. Thanks for listening to a conversation between Mike Clark and myself. It was a great time. I hope we can do another one again. But until then, keep reading and keep listening. Thanks.